Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, no changes to the agenda. If no one has objection, the minutes will be approved from the last meeting. Does anyone have any objections? Okay, this is the time when the public can speak. I don't see anyone out there from the public. If anyone wants to make a statement or talk about it, you got 3 minutes. Nobody? Okay. Financial statements. Dave.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to attempt to do the shared screen. If not, we'll just talk through it today.
Okay, can I give you a question before you start?
Sure.
Okay. All those changes that are being made by Greenbaugh, different stuff, they've been pretty active. How are we paying for that? Are they doing it without pay, or how's that happening?
As far as I know, and Bob Easterday is the expert on this still, is
Okay.
they continue to perform all their services, and we continue to review their invoices and pay them. And
who reviews them? Our agreement.
Mostly Bob.
Our agreement. I'm going to tell you one more time. Okay. Our agreement. And the reason I voted to give them that 1.2 was that they would submit their invoices to the finance committee. There would be one board, at least one board member that would sign off on it. Now, that's what we voted on. Why are we doing different? Why are you approving stuff differently? Bob or Tim?
I was not aware that each of the Greenbow invoices had to be approved by a board member.
I've told you that 3 times, Dave. It's in the minutes.
Make that change going forward. I can certainly make that change.
Okay.
So
since you don't know what's going on, how can you be approving stuff? You approve checks to be written and you don't know what's going on?
He's going based upon Bob signing off on these invoices that are coming in.
Okay, but he's the one that approved it. Okay.
Right.
I think he maybe understands better now.
yeah, and thanks for bringing that to my attention. I'll make sure going forward that no invoices get paid unless a board member has looked at it and approved it.
Thank you.
May I say something, Jean?
Please.
I don't believe there's been any recent invoices. The only ones we're paying are ones that were approved.
Yeah,
prior.
I know. We wouldn't know. We would know they're doing it through finance or through building. It's a little messed up here, but we're getting it corrected. You missed a meeting yesterday. They said, oh, we paid some invoices and they couldn't remember Greenbaugh's name. Nobody, finally they figured, oh, it's got to be Greenbaugh. But
who's that? Who's that? I don't remember that.
I kept asking questions and nobody would come up with who the invoices were for that was being paid. But it'll get worked out. But yes, there has been invoices. Checks have been cut. No board members signed them yet.
Well, Barbara, can you finish your statement? You were talking there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt, Barbara?
No, I was just saying that all the invoices that we paid are older invoices. None of them are new invoices.
Right.
What are you talking about?
These are invoices, Gene, that had built up on the accounts payable.
Yes.
And I know last time you raised, why are we not paying Greenbow? I mean, this stuff's all been approved before. We've got to get this stuff cleared off. That's it. There's been no new stuff.
Okay, but that is new stuff. It just has never been brought to finance. How old is it?
Months.
Well, yeah, months, that's nothing. We were 3 years behind in some of that stuff. that we paid that was behind. A couple months is not old. Barbara, I'd like to look at them. Has a board member signed them yet?
I have one board member signature. We still need another signature. The check has gone nowhere.
Okay, so we need 2 board members, right? Or not?
Well, it needs at least one board. Yeah,
Okay, who's the board member that signed it, Barbara?
Ross did.
Why would Ross sign it? Okay. They,
Let's discuss it at board meeting. You brought that up yesterday, Gene.
okay, all right, we'll bring it up at the board meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Dave.
Okay, thank you. Before I start on my presentation, there is some one housekeeping issue for next month's board meeting, finance meeting. I'm asking this committee to whether or not Rick Jackson has completed the audit for this year's financial audit, and he's ready to make a presentation next month. And we were wondering if he can do that via Zoom remote for next month's finance meeting.
Should be good, right?
Yeah, I agree. I can't see why we would have him drive all the way out here for 20 minutes.
No.
You know?
Did he do it at the finance or did he do it at the board meeting last year?
Either way, whatever the board's preference is.
Well,
what would you
Always been
prefer?
done at the board meeting.
Yeah, because that way all 5 board members are there.
Right.
Okay.
That's
He was
why.
gonna
Right.
send
I was
it
gonna
to the January Finance Committee meeting and then present it to the full board in February.
Yeah, that would be great, right, Tim?
That'll work. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the
Get it
best
done.
idea.
Do by finance, right?
Okay,
Let's do
let's
that.
move forward. I hit my shared screen, and I'm assuming you're not seeing it.
Correct.
So I'm going to just have to talk through it today. I'm going to start on page 9. A little extra slow today because you won't be able to see what I'm talking about. So page 9 is with the graphs, the concluding summary, the positive and negative takeaways is giving you a little bit of time to get there. Okay. The number 3 just makes reference to our financial pictures through 5 months of the fiscal year in terms of our net surplus. So far this year is 1.5 million over budget as of through November. I also wanted to highlight that the yellow section where we're spending a lot of time analyzing is related to our cash flow and the cash coming in on supplemental payments. How significantly less that is this year for us. We're only 1.3 million. Last year at this time, you can see the supplemental payments in yellow was 3.2 million. And then moving over a little bit, you can see our projected numbers for 2022 is 9.6. And by the way, that could be even less. We're still trying to figure out exactly how many rate range IGTs we're going to get this year. It's possible that number could go as low as 7 million. And that compares unfavorably to what we got last year, which you can see the number right next to that in the yellow, the actual FY21 for 12 months, we received 16 million. So in terms of cash, we're not going to be benefiting as much on the supplemental. Sure.
On there was 6 or 7 million. We were going to have to pay back most of it, but make a loan out of 1.2 million. Do you remember?
Yes, 1.2 million is the amount Medicare advanced us. That's still being paid back on a monthly basis.
Okay.
They take maybe about 50,000 a month out for that.
Okay. Is it,
Well, that
Okay,
doesn't have
so they're
anything to do
just-
with IGT. That was a COVID loan that was part of the federal program to help out hospitals.
okay, so
Medicare.
we didn't take out a separate loan. That's not violating our bond agreement where we don't take out money. So we're okay there.
No, that was a voluntary COVID advance that Medicare
Okay,
offered to all hospitals. Because it was little or no interest, we took advantage of it.
right.
And we're not having to pay it back very quickly, so we're able to use their money.
But, but you said not much interest. Are we paying interest on it?
I'm trying to remember, Barbara.
I
as far as
think
I
it
can
was,
remember, there's no interest.
no, I think it was no, I don't think there's interest on it. We pay it back
I
2%
don't believe-
based on billings.
Oh.
I'm almost positive there's no interest, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, what I'm getting at is we shouldn't take out a loan unless we go to the finance committee. You should bring. it up.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
This was an advance that I believe happened, Barbara, late in last fiscal year?
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
Medicare just advanced us the money against billings.
Yep, so it's to our benefit, and I'm pretty sure there's no interest on it, so we're just using their money, and that, I'm just making reference to that, and that does show up on our balance sheet as a liability.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next page, 10. And you can see our cash is down. And again, you're going to see cash down until we start getting these big IGT payments. We did get a couple nice ones in December that obviously don't show up on the November report, but even with that, it's going to take till probably early next spring before you see our cash balances come back up again. The good news is we expect us to finish the year about 3 million higher than we are right now, based on our expected IGT payments that will come in later in the fiscal year, closer to the April, June, May timeframe. But you can see on line 1 for cash and cash equivalents, the middle column showing us that our cash is down 637,000 compared to last month. 2 line items I want to make reference to: lower line number 15. You can see the variance, the middle column on line 15, showing that we have 687,000 more in that recount. That was a new account Barbara set up for the CapEx program. So that's considered an asset on our books, like an insurance policy. That's an asset for the district. The other item that went down a similar amount is line 19. We had to take it out of an account that was in the category of other limited use assets, and you can see line 19 went down by 700,027. So that's where we took that money, and we now show it as in a different category of an asset instead of cash. It now shows up as an asset for the district in a different category.
That 700,000, does that include that service fee? Because it was supposed to be 675 or something.
The CapEx does not have a debt service fee.
It's
That was a different-
3,500 a year.
You're right.
It's 3,500 a year
The,
for 7 years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So the answer to your question is yes, it does.
That includes that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move over to page 11. And we're going to go to line 10. I want to make general reference. One of the things that is helping our bottom line this year is we were very conservative all the way up, excuse me, through the end of last year, in that we showed the prior year end on line 10, we showed 13,965,000 due to third-party payers. I continue to go through a review process, and we've, without having to make any big payments, we've been able to reduce that number to the current number in the far left column of 10,065,259. So it's down almost $4 million compared to what Chet had in there in terms of third-party payables. I still don't have any reason to think that number isn't going to go down significantly more. I'm waiting for the audit to be completed and a few more conversations with Rick Jackson, but we're going to continue to bring that number more into what I would consider to be accurate. Right now, I don't believe it's still not as accurate as I'd like to see it, but we're trying to be careful because Chet, rightfully so, wanted to be absolutely sure when we received a lot of this money whether or not we would ever have to pay it back. So we're being careful not to move it off the liability until we're absolutely sure. But we do see a pretty large movement since the end of last year on that line item. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to move on to page 12. And we have the benefit on looking at two different line items. Line 13, which is the amount coming into the organization, and the variance there being positive. So if you look at line 13 in the middle column, there's a 31,754 positive variance of total operating revenue compared to line 28, which is total operating expenses, and that number is positive, which means it's less than budget of 74,000. So 31,000 positive on the revenue, 71,000 less spent on expenses. So you can see that nets out at $100,000 better than budget for the month of November. Two items in particular, they were very low on the expense side. Fringe benefits, you can see how 236,000 compared to the budget of 313, much lower than budget. And also utilities was an adjustment, I believe, from an overstated year-to-date from the prior month, showing 34,000 compared to the budget of 56. So that helped our bottom line. One other main issue for the month of November that helped us was on line 12. You can see this other operating revenue of 94,299 compared to the budget of 49,050. The difference in that, it was an $80,000 check we got from Kern for the vehicle. So we did receive that payment. How much was it, Barbara?
It was 80,000 something for the two vehicles that we purchased for the transfer.
Remember marker.
Yeah, so that was nice to get that money in, and that shows up on our other operating revenue and puts us over budget on that line item. Any questions on page 12?
It was right at 80,000, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to fix a problem with Jim Dietzel's trying to get into the meeting, and so I'm trying to fix that.
Oh, okay. You want me to hold off?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll let Deb Hess know.
And I don't know what's going on with my setup today, so I'm going to have to figure out. Anyway, let's go on to page 13. That's the year-to-date P&L. And I think I pointed this out last month. If you look at line 11, net patient revenue, that's how much the net amount of what comes into the organization based on the patient activity and the volume and the billing. You can see the number for our left column of 14,437,000 is significantly higher than where we were at a year ago after the first 5 months, going to the far right column of 11,846,000. So that's, as a percentage, that's a significant increase, a high 28% or so, better than we had a year ago on net patient revenue. We had a very busy summer, and that shows up on our year-to-date revenue picture. One line item on the expense side that jumps out at me is line 19, supply expense of 1,909,000 compared to last year of 1,571,000. The COVID-related testing is really added a lot more to our expenses as it relates to supplies. So you can see that's really kind of hurt us financially, but obviously we've had more volume and revenues to make up for it. Another noteworthy item to notice on page 13 is just below the line 28 net operating surplus. A year ago, after 5 months, you can see the far right column, we were at a loss, a red number of 398,000 after 5 months. Compared to this year, our net operating surplus close to 1.8 million. And you can see the same thing if you go even lower below line 34, the total surplus shows a red number last year and 1.8 million this year. So we certainly are off to a better start this year. I would have to make one comment about our financial picture. Because we were so conservative last year, one of the things that has caused about half of our bottom line is a result of moving some of those liabilities over of third-party payments that I showed you before, that now show up this year as profit, really as a prior year adjustment that we're making to try to make the balance sheet more accurate. So about half of this bottom line is a result of an adjustment from last year was lower than it should have been, and we're putting it into this year's financial picture. So a lot of that will also get fixed when Rick completes his audit, when we move the rest of the numbers around to fit what the auditors have determined to be in a similar vein to bring that third-party settlement number more in line with what it should be. The last page I want to refer to is page 14. And it's an interesting trend we have on page 14. If you go to line 28 and go all the way over to the 5th column over, which is the beginning of the fiscal year of 7/31/2021, and look at line 28, look at our operating expenses and look how consistent we are. 2,575,000, 2,551,000, 2,650,000, 2,546,000, 2,545,000. I don't think I've ever seen, a level of consistency that. So there's really no surprises happening on our expense structure, which is a good thing. And we continue to maintain that expense structure and stay below budget. So any questions or comments in general? I would characterize our year as a good year. I wouldn't call it great. I think, again, part of our big variance, positive variance, is an adjustment from last year, but we're still ahead. Even without that, we're still probably close to $1 million ahead of budget, even without the prior year adjustments. So I think we're off to a good start. That's my presentation. Any comments or questions? I apologize for not having the Zoom capability today. I don't know what happened.
Thanks a lot. Sorry if I get excited, I guess is a mild word about some of the things, but
Well, it's good
overall,
for me to hear where you're coming from, Gene, because what I thought before this meeting, I thought you were concerned that we weren't paying our bills fast enough. So now it looks like you want to make sure we
okay.
get a proper review. So I'm in full agreement of that.
Okay, it's like they keep making changes, they keep doing this. What's paid, what's not paid, where are we? We need to know where we're at. That's all, not question the billing or the work, but is he gonna come back 2 years from now and say, well, I didn't charge for redoing that? If he's not charging, we need to know now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's good to have you guys helping us out, looking at it too, because between what you see and what Bob sees, I think we'll be able to keep holding him accountable.
Okay, cool. And he's a great guy, but we need to know where we're at. That's all. Barbara, I think, Barbara, are you next?
Yep.
Well, the next is the local vendor aging. There's $26,347 out there total. 25,600 of it is in the current month, which probably, this was run on the 21st. So some of these have already been paid also.
Okay,
Anybody has any questions about them?
not here.
What's page?
I don't-
Yes?
No.
I said I don't have any questions, sorry.
Oh. The following page 21 is the contracts review for the month. Are there any contracts specifically that anybody has questions about? Do you want me to go down the whole list or?
No, I haven't looked at it. Does anyone have any questions about it?
I didn't have any questions other than there was a question about with Heather Berry. Was she not supposed to be doing something for the board?
For the board?
No.
Yes.
She's
We had
supervised.
talked about some education and stuff, and Tim had said that he had talked to her about providing some input with the board.
Yeah,
and
we're
yet
gonna,
I haven't-
we haven't got a chance to conclude that conversation yet.
Okay. So none of
She's-
this that's being billed for her that has nothing to do with what was supposed to happen for the board at this point.
No, that is correct.
Okay.
She is supervising Lisa Wiley in the clinic. She has to have supervision initially for a certain period of time when she gets her license.
Correct.
That's what she's doing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, for that much of it. You had something else you do, don't you? Okay, the next capital expenditures, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay. Mark, this high flow delivery system, didn't we do that last? Is it on there again for a reason?
It's not on there again.
No,
Oh,
this is a copy machine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it says.
We already got those high flow air oxygen things. What are you looking at the
I'm looking
minutes?
at
from
last,
last?
I'm looking at the last one. Sorry about that.
No worries. You already approved that one. We already got them in the unit.
But the one we're looking at for the, this is the main copier that's used for the hospital, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Christine
Okay.
Polito's, yeah.
Right, and this was the one, we approved it in September,
No,
April?
I don't know what that is.
This is the first time this one's come.
Okay, it seems like we had talked about it before, that it wasn't able to keep up with what was needing to be done and it kept jamming or something.
That may have been admitting or something like that. We've had several of them that were in, that are in
Okay,
older
I
state.
could've- All right, I'll go back and look because I'm pretty sure it was Christine Polito had put on in it. And maybe we just talked about it because and she does mention in here sent in April 21,
It
so,
was budgeted, it was probably budgeted in April.
okay. And approved at that time?
Well, I don't know if it was approved.
It was approved for the budget probably, but not necessarily to acquire it.
Do we want to move that to the consent agenda? Catherine?
I'm gonna say yes, because it's
Yes,
definitely
def-
something that needs to be used.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, service agreement for Samantha Munger. Tim, that's, should go to consent agenda?
Yeah, well, there's one change I need to make to that particular contract. I had a conversation with Dr. Mongar the other day. The hourly rate that we had just kind of rolled that contract over. This was actually the contract that Dr. Lopez had before. And we were paying her at a rate of $100 an hour, which is way low compared to market. And so my recommendation here is to go ahead and increase the hourly rate on this contract to $167. That will raise the not to exceed to $5,000 a month. That provides her enough hours to get the work done that needs to be done over there in the clinic. She was fine with that adjustment. And so I'm asking board permission to go ahead and approve this with that stipulation on the change of the hourly rate and the not to exceed of $5,000. So because I'm changing that, that will probably need to go to the board, the full board for approval. So this one would not go on a consent, but it would go through.
Then let's move it to the full board. Is that okay?
That would be great.
Yes, I agree with that,
With those changes?
with the
Yes.
With the
changes.
changes.
Thank you.
Then Sarah Lopez, Tim?
Yeah, this here, what our original intent was to do is Sarah is basically pulling back. The plan there was because we now have Mallory working over at the clinic as one of our nurse practitioners. I need another, we had Dr. Mongar actually providing her nurse practitioner supervision. It's a very minimal amount. And so Lopez is agreed that she would take on that duty and responsibility. It's basically $500, a flat fee for just kind of reviewing her charts, consulting with her and so forth. So request that one can go on consent if you are acceptable of that. Again, it was an existing contract. All we're doing is just changing it from Dr. Mongar to Dr. Lopez. And Lopez's directorship is switching then to Dr. Mongar.
Okay, Catherine, I think that looks good for consent. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good to go to consent. I just, I mean, we're just changing names and positions, not any
Right.
change in funds. So I agree to go with that with consent.
Okay, okay, Heidi, okay, Tim, infectious disease physician agreement.
I think you missed one. We got the skilled nursing director agreement.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Gross.
Yeah, this is one that Dr. Mongar had. And again, he agreed to give this one up in exchange for taking on the clinic directorship. And so Dr. Gross, because Dr. Gross ultimately has control of providing the care in the SNF and on the acute unit, we went ahead and just switched her directorship there to Dr. Gross. And so again, request permission to go ahead and make that change. Since he's on the unit every single day, Monday through, was it Tuesday through Friday? And so again, it makes sense for him to serve as a medical director and get in that capacity over there.
Okay.
And so is there any change in finances with that?
No, it's the same dollars, $3,000 a month.
Okay, and so then with this change, he'll be also the one overseeing admissions?
Yes. Yeah, which will actually make it a lot more expeditious for us to get cases in because he's there to review them. Dr. Mongar was not. So.
So that means we can increase our amount of admissions?
That is my hope.
Okay. Just thought I'd throw that out there since we were
It
all on here.
wasn't lost on me.
All right.
Okay, so that'll go to consent agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now,
And then the
Dr.
next one was infectious disease physician agreement. This is something that's desperately needed. Dr. Felizarta is an infectious disease physician down here in Bakersfield, board certified. And he has agreed to provide both consult for our physicians, both in the hospital and the ER where necessary. And that is provided at a rate of, I believe it was $225 an hour for up to 10 hours, or up to $3,000 a month for that. And then on top of that, he would provide consulting for us for our infection control program for the antimicrobial stewardship program and reviews of our antibiograms. This is something that was desperately needed as part of our CDPH survey that we had here just not too long ago. And so again, getting that specialty involved to make sure that we in fact are providing the best antibiotics for any of the infections and so forth that we come across within the hospital is very, very much needed. So, and again, this is very reasonable pay and time involvement for him. And Dr. Gross has been working with him and he's been providing service to us at no cost, and just didn't feel that that was justified. So, you know, again, we're going to basically pay him for his time and services accordingly.
And does that include the skilled nursing also?
Yes, it does.
Okay, go to the consent agenda, Catherine?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, budget preparation schedule, Dave?
Yes, thank you. There's a page 53. You can see the updated for this upcoming year's 2023 calendar for our budget process. Similar to what Chet did every year, I kind of modified it to put it into 3 sections. There's really 3 different types of budgets. You can see the very top, 3 main categories: operating budget, capital budget, and cash flow budget. So the very top section lays out the monthly process. Starting in the middle of the page, you can see the departmental budget worksheets is what drives the operating budget, because each department will get a customized worksheet with their history and all their staffing and all their revenues and expenses. And they'll be able to look at the history and then tell me what's changing from one year to the next in terms of where we need to spend more money, where we can cut back on certain kinds of expenses, where our volumes might be changing, so that we can have a collaborative. I can meet one-on-one with each budget manager, and I can become more familiar with each of those departments, sit down with them one-on-one, at least through the month of February, where we help them understand it and put it into numbers of really what they want to accomplish in the next year's budget. So that's the operating piece that occurs. And you can see later on in that process, there'll be some reviews, and we'll look at our baseline information for this current year, and we'll update it for more current actual information, and then see if we need to make any other changes to what we assumed. Because sometimes you can assume a 5% increase on a line item and then have that line item be readjusted based on new history of a couple extra months. So you really want to make the next year's budget more accurate by looking at the most current information. So this calendar allows us to make some adjustments as we go along the way. And you can see the final approval of the operating budget occurs on Monday, June 6th of 2022 at the board meeting in June. is when we'll be presenting that to the full board for approval on the operating budget. Similarly, there's a process that occurs for capital budget. The middle section that is a little bit shorter time frame. We should be able to get through that in a couple months, from February through the end of April. And then the very last step, the resulting cash flow budget, the board needs to see if we accomplish everything in the budget, what does it look like in terms of cash flow? Does it put us in a good position to be well positioned financially on firm financial footing if we accomplish our budget objectives? So this is a similar process to what Chet did, and I kind of fine-tuned it a little bit, maybe put it in a little bit different organization.
Yeah, that looks really good. Anyone have any questions?
Good.
Yeah, I don't have any
It's not
questions.
really- It helps. You can see right away, right at the beginning, we are starting it early this year because I assumed everyone's got to get used to a new CFO and get used to the way I do things. So we're adding a little bit more time involved so that everyone can be familiar. The learning process will be a little more challenging this year with me being new. So we're adding a little bit of time. For example, the very first step happens right after the first of the year. The administrative team is going to look at the general volume and staffing target assumptions. We're going to go ahead and get that right off the bat to really get a picture of where we think our crystal ball looks like, what's going to happen for next year.
Things could be totally different with the different versions or types of COVID, because the hospitalization might not be as required for as much. And so that could make a major factor on it.
While COVID is around, we continue to have, it really is a challenge to try to predict the future.
Yeah, well, I can do it. Okay, is that, Dave, was that it, pretty much it?
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you're doing such an awesome job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it too.
And I'm sorry if sometimes I don't communicate as good as I could, I guess. CapEx, Tim, your part of the agreement isn't in writing. Down the road with different board members, if they need to interpret it, all I'm asking for is your side of the agreement.
Well, Dave, I mean, it is a part of the board minutes. We have taped conversations about this with the board when this was presented to the board. Like I said, I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to go asking for an increase. I gave my word this was, something that was beneficial to me. And, I fully intend to live by that. So there's no fear there. I'm not going to a future board and asking them, for an increase, around, I gave a commitment, and the board did too. And the board was very gracious in approving that for me. And so, again, that's, this is, whatever the board wants,
Okay.
like I said,
Okay. Okay, you can make it real easy right now by saying, I'll sign what I said I would do, or I'll blow it up so big at the board meeting, you'll crawl underneath the table. Is that what you want?
So like I said, I thought my word was good for that, but whatever.
Your word, down the road.
Let me just interject here if I can.
Go ahead.
I understand both sides, but I am not usually in agreement with very many people, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But it seems to be a topic that continues to come up, just like the topic, which lately hasn't come up, about, paying for health benefits for somebody that was grandfathered in. So as a board member, I kind of would just like the recommendation that a quick agreement sign be made up. You sign it, we call it good, and we're done. Because we change. We're all going to change as far as board members and such. And I think if it makes anybody feel a little more at ease, then, you know what, if no one else is against it, I'm for it. Let's just do it, put it in the book and then call it done, said, dealt with, and move on to the next item that somebody's gonna be miffed about down the line. You know, I
So be it.
mean any,
So be it.
I don't mean any disrespect on
Nope.
either side, but, again, if it's one of those things that can be an easy, down and dirty, get it over with, I'm
We'll
kind of
do-
for it.
God, just draft up a quick statement or whatever, and
Yeah,
I'll go
just-
execute that. Not a problem.
Perfect.
Four
Thank
or
you, Tim,
five
very
li-
much.
You're
4
welcome.
or 5 lines, Tim, very, very simple.
Yeah, not a problem.
You could be incapacitated. There's so many things that could happen,
Oh, sure.
and that will tell the whole story.
You got it.
Thank
You can also add me as one of the beneficiaries if you want during that. Just putting that out there. Thank you, Tim, very much.
So noted. Thank you.
Okay, I guess you guys are all waiting for this. The meeting's adjourned.
Oh, yay. Thank
Thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Take care.
Talk to you guys
Bye-bye.
soon. Happy New
Have a
Year
good
to
day.
everybody.
Likewise. Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.